Good day. How do we know which voice we're listening to? Is it the devil on our shoulder or is it the angel on our shoulder? Because sometimes, most of the time, it's just one voice. It's not like you're hearing them both at the same time, right? It's more like Jiminy Cricket, So when is Jiminy Cricket being the devil and when is Jiminy Cricket being the angel? And we can have stories we tell ourselves that make us feel virtuous in the path we've chosen that is based on taking care of the flesh or the five senses, right? We get hungry, we get lonely, we get horny, we get all these things, and we want to dopamine hits, all of these things that are choices we make for the flesh. You know, it's easy to paint a story, especially if you don't spend much time like meditating to yourself and thinking on the voices, and to actually uh, center on what you actually want to follow, then it's easy to just start following a path that's not the true virtuous path for yourself. And there is little voices, but they're coming from the up from the subconscious, and they're very quiet, and you have to want to listen, you know. So I think about, you know, are we making choices for morality or for logic and reason and for good and for the better choices for the collective rather than just my own? Well, I I wonder too why certain perspectives are even taken on things like the Bible, for example. God tells Abraham to sacrifice his child. So this voice, right? First of all, they're telling us which voice. Let's just imagine our voice tells Abraham to go and sacrifice his child. Another voice comes in, right? Just as he's about to do it and says, don't do it, right? Which voice would you call God? Okay, well, the first voice, the one that was telling him to do evil, is is God. Okay, so what were the Gnostics on about? Well, they believed in the flesh or this world being run by the Yahweh, and so I'm more. We have to like read the Bible as if sometimes the voice they're saying is God might actually be Satan. You know, it's we should be reading that because there's times where we know it's Satan's voice when he's saying, oh, let your God will save you and jump off this cliff and see if he does so. Well, that's obvious that was the devil, right? And they say it in there, but when it's something that's like this, that's a deep ingrained message that we should discern ourselves what is God's voice or which is the serpent's voice, or is the serpent actually a benevolent force and is actually the God in the Garden of Eden, because they start out and they're ashamed. They were not ashamed, both naked, right? They um and so pretty much they says God says they're going to die if they eat of the fruit in the that gives them the knowledge of good and evil. you know they take the fruit, they don't die. The serpent tells them, you're not going to die, right? The serpent tells them the truth. You're not going to die from this. Your eyes will be open and you will be like gods, right? So beforehand, in if you look at that situation again, who's the benevolent voice? The one that's trying to tell them, hey, here, don't worry. Take this. You'll see what's really going on right now. Okay. And if I were to think about what uh, the government has done with psychedelics, is they have taken the voice of God, and was that the best voice? Or would it have been better for us to have a culture that, is very respectful of the apple, for example, magic mushrooms or ayahuasca or San Pedro or any of these entheogenic medicines like plant medicines, that we should have it as a godly special thing that you do at a certain time in your life, so that they're not hiding off and doing it at 14, and or like at times, maybe not age wise, but at times they're not ready for it. So whose voice is a benevolent voice here, right? So I think if we want to we want to know that this is a book full of really amazing stories, but don't take their perception on whose voice is who, because the voices are very tough to just you have to look at the whole picture to decide what you're doing, and you have to be so honest with yourself. And this, we have to know too, is that like the Gnostics believed Sophia was like the benevolent God, and Yahweh or God in the Old Testament, the one that's telling him to kill his child and is lying to them about the apple. Doesn't it lines more up with that perception on that story, and so let's just be very honest with ourselves that this book has I believe there's 81 or 84 books in the Ethiopia. The oldest Bible has 81 or 84 in it. I believe the Catholic Bible has 71 or 72 books in it, and then this book has 66, right? So why the differences? Right? Why does the oldest Bible have the most books in it? And maybe the stories are we need to I don't want to be called like they killed the Gnostics because they were heretics, because they perceived the story different, right? So you can't speak against these things or without getting a certain amount of pushback, because a lot of people that they either throw this book away or they are right into it. It's really hard to find people that sit in the middle and look at the fact that there's things that we need to be more Gnostic in our approach to our perception than Orthodox, And again, I said in my last video about cannabis in the Bible that I was going to talk about Revelations, and I've been just doing so much mulling over about how I want to approach that video. So I'm going to do that right away. But for now, I wanted to start with that about, what voices are we listening to? And this is why in a spiritual war that we are in right now, our best weapon is meditation, because then we can circle and sit there and listen and be like, what is the right voice to listen to? So much love and have a lovely day.